Bro hit me up like, where your stimmy check? I told him I ain't get it yet. He said, Nev G, I ain't finna flex. You need to jump on FaceTime in a minute, breast. He hit me up. He was at a Quadruplex. I'm like, where you at? He said, bruh, guess. It looked like a trap, I don't even know. He said the whole hood going for the low. That's the move. We could make plenty. I asked how many units, 247 said 60. I'm like, wait a minute, what am I missing? He said, I don't know, bro, time to get busy. Okay, but how we gonna really get him? It's like space dependent, how we gonna really bid him? I just wanna know the minimum, bro said, like a few racks or a synonym. I remember, I got on the S&Ms. I hit everybody in there next to Ken's. Told Pops, shoot me 60 racks. Soon as Velo get it, I'ma give it back. No time for Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. That's a 90-day wait just to kiss their ass. He said, son, I'm not trying to risk it. That money is for you and your siblings. I had let Mom Dukes hold like 10K. Told her I'ma need that back yesterday. She was like, that's all you had to say. But you know how the bank is, you gotta wait. I told her, I don't have the time now. No, Mom, I need that bread right now. She said, Nev and Jarrell, pipe down. I said, y'all all sleep nightgowns. I ain't rest like a soldier in a tent, fam. I had dreams of me being the rent man. Woke up, I can see it, bro, HD. You gotta put up 5th creative savings. That's the thing, bro. It just ain't me. You gotta think, dog. I got JT, and if I blow it on a bando, she would hate me. Plus me and my N-words eating baked beans. Well, there goes plan A and plan B. Plan C, I foot the bill like a stampede. We gotta find a way to get this damn cheese, cause I ain't leaving court without a damn deed. Morning of, I had to go on a run. Got a call from bro as soon as I got done. What's the word, bro? You gotta tell me something. He said, good news and bad news, pick one. You know how we gathered up all the crumbs and we scrapped all that metal, it was a lot of tons, and we maxed at 40 racks to get it done? Well, they opened up the bid at 41.
What up, Treppers? We back, and it's another Q&A. Hopefully y'all enjoyed Nev G putting a hot 16 on the track real quick. And so we're pretty much just going to answer some other questions, dive deeper into the story of how we got this specific property, what was the process, and yeah, just go in detail a little bit more. Nev actually put a lot of the details, or at least a rendition of the truth, into his rap. Of course, you got to get creative and, you know, make it rhyme, but technically speaking, he's rapping something that's based on a true story. And so our goal is to pretty much just dive in deeper on that. Essentially, it was a tax sale. It was a tax auction, and I know about the tax deed sales and the tax lien sales pretty much through our dad. I've been picking up the newspaper, and any of you can go to, you just have to do the research to find out what newspaper is publishing the tax properties that are going to be sold in your county. So essentially what happens is, once an owner gets delinquent on their taxes, the county will auction off their property, or at least put a tax lien on the property. Sometimes it's a tax deed, just depends on what state you're in, what county. There's a lot of specifics to it, but ultimately for our county that we live in, the way they do it is, if a person is delinquent on their taxes, their property will go up for auction based on that delinquent amount. That's the minimum bid. And then from there, people compete in the auction and will run the bid up, and then you just have to win. You just have to outbid everybody else.
Real quick, delinquent means you didn't pay. Just real quick, because he said delinquent, so somebody might not know what delinquent means. If you delinquent, you didn't pay your taxes. Simple.
Appreciate that. So once they were delinquent, you know, you'll see those get listed in the newspaper. So I've been picking up the newspaper, watching for foreclosures and tax sales for a long time. The property that I currently live in, I purchased it through an auction. It was a foreclosure auction, but nevertheless, it became extremely beneficial to me. It's a duplex. I live in one side, I rent out the other. You know, it's paid off, mortgage free. It's a great arrangement. And so naturally that keeps me watching the newspapers. So anyway, I saw that this neighborhood, essentially based on the addresses, was going up for auction. So I decided to go and really just visit it and take a look at it. And that's what you hear in Nevin's rap. Yo, so we in this neighborhood, bro. Let me see if I can flip my camera around real quick. What you doing? That is a true story. I really was FaceTiming him while my friend and I went through this neighborhood just to get an idea of what it was. Like, doing your due diligence. Step one, you see some properties in the newspaper. The first thing you're going to want to do is see if you can drive by there. Just take a look at it. Nobody's saying trespass or enter or go on the property, but at least drive by it and make sure that it is a standing structure. And so that's what we did. And I'm FaceTiming him during that time. And so he's literally asking me the question like, okay, well, what is the opening bid? What is the minimum bid for these properties? And the property's minimum bid individually was in the neighborhood of between $3,000 and $4,000, pretty much. And so, I mean, I've been to so many tax sales. I've been to so many auctions. The minimum bid almost doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't matter like that because people are going to run the bid up to whatever they feel the property is worth, or just to outbid you and secure the property so no one else can get it, stamp out the competition type of thing. And so, he's asking what's the minimum bid. I'm like, okay, about $3,000 per, do the math. That comes out to around, at best case scenario, we might can have them at about $45,000, $40,000 to $45,000.
We didn't know, how he said, the minimum bid almost never is never the bid, right? That it wins. The minimum never really wins.
Exactly.
So
I've seen properties very much like these go up at a tax sale, and they run the bid up to $100,000, $50,000, $80,000, easy, because they're just that marketable and they're valuable. There's so much value in land.
So I feel like we had came to a conclusion that these buildings were gonna go around like 10 to 15 per building. That's what we assume, because at the end of the day, y'all have seen the interior of these properties at this point, and you can see just how bad they are. And honestly, ours is easily one of the best in the entire neighborhood. We got lucky. And but some of these buildings, there's holes that are like 20 by 10-foot holes in the front that you can see completely through the building, right? So, they were in such a bad condition that they had the chance that they wouldn't get bidded too high just because of how bad they are. But again, I've seen stuff like this at auctions, and some of these investors, their pockets run extremely deep. And so it's nothing to just put $40,000 on one building. The other thing was one of the factors in it one of the reasons why I thought that they would go a little bit lower than maybe they're worth, or the land around here. I feel like it was worth like what, 25,000 or something like that, just based on the acreage. For instance, the land alone is appraised at 40,000. Okay. This property right here, just the land by itself. So what I was getting at was the fact that you saw how we had to clear out just to get up to the building. We had to clear a lot of the street and things like that. So I was hoping that a lot of investors, wouldn't fight through the brush and stuff like that. Because, we Treppers, we get it out the mud. So we ready to go through the woods to see this property. I'm hoping that, I was hoping that a lot of investors or people who were curious about it would get to the front of the neighborhood, see all the trees, see all the, debris and stuff, and just turn around and say, I'm good. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. But the crazy thing is, when my friend and I came into this neighborhood, we came strapped. We came, GoPros on. We did see one or two other people walk in this neighborhood at that time. So I knew that, and that to me also was another signifier of don't assume there's not going to be competition. The same way you out here investigating this neighborhood, so is other people. And this is just the day that I happen to go. Who's to say who is going to be here tomorrow or who has already been here days before? I prepared for the competition to be high and to be intense.
When did Nelly get involved? That's a good part of the story. When did Nelly get involved?
I would say from the very, very beginning. He told me he came up on a neighborhood. Him and his friend were going to see it. And I was like, ooh, okay. And then he sent the footage, that 20-minute video. And I sat there and I watched every single minute of that video from start to finish because I wanted to get a very good idea of what this was. So watched the video, and then I think all three of us were having separate conversations. Like Narelle and Nevin would talk, me and Narelle would talk, and then at some point or another we just got in our group chat and was like, yeah, so we going for it? And we're like, yeah. So in Nevin's rap, I'm not really mentioned, but that's his story because it was the conversation that happened between him and Narelle. But I was definitely there, and the morning of the auction, I had to go to work. I really, really wanted to go, and I actually was going to take off, but I had an important presentation to do that I could not do. So I could not leave work for. So I'm sitting by my phone just waiting. And next thing I know is Narelle, texts in our group and was like, y'all, we got a building. And my heart just dropped because it's a quadplex. And then I didn't know what this endeavor or adventure was going to lead, where it was going to lead us. And I knew it was going to be a big responsibility, but it was something that I was anxious to get into. And so it's like, all right, we got a quad. Next steps.
Just backtracking a little bit, I wanted to talk about OC Dwayne right here. You know, but in this instance, it's a good thing because he had actually made a whole grading system on these quadruplexes. So he had looked at all of them, you know, saw where they were and location wise, what the exterior structure looked like, you know, were they still boarded up? Could you see from the inside? Could you see from the outside to the inside, back to the outside? Like, these are all factors that he took into account. And it actually did lead to us knowing which building we actually did want to get, right? So I thought that was important just to mention, like, give it context. Like, we didn't know, you know, it's 15 buildings going up. We don't know if we have enough money to bid on all of them or one of them or whatever. So, you know, we've been to auctions before and we've said, okay, you know, we got 30,000 or we pulled together this, maybe we can get this building. And then we get in there and it's like first bid is 50. Then you know, the next bid is 70. And it's like, okay, well, that went left very quick.
Real quick. Okay.
So a little bit about how this process works. So after you do, okay, let's tell the details of the auction. Let's do that.
Okay.
All right, so the day of the auction rolls around. Nevin, Nelly, and I have already decided that we are going to band together, put together our STEMI checks, and at least go for one, right? Because we did not expect for these properties to go for cheap at all, especially nothing close to their minimum bids. So we decided the night before that we're going to bid on at least one. And I also was having conversations with my wife about us getting into an investment property. And so both of those properties were going up in the same tax sale. So on one hand, I have the funds for what Trep Out Da Bando was prepared to invest in. But then in the other pocket, I had the amount of money necessary for my wife and I to invest in a duplex that was also going to go up for sale. So we get to the auction that day, and again, 15 properties are going up for sale. I know that they're all quads, and they are all owned by the same entity, the same company. Most times when you go to these auctions, there's not a lot of talking. The only thing they're going to tell you is you better know what you're doing, because there's a lot of rules and processes that you have to be aware of before you spend this money. The way these auctions work, they will auction off a retention pond. They will auction off a corner that only has a street light on it if they want to. And if you buy it, it's yours, and now you owe taxes on it year to year. When we went down the list, I would say this neighborhood was like 4th or 5th on the list. We get to the first property, and the auctioneer gives this whole disclaimer. If you just understand this neighborhood is this, it's abandoned, you can't go in it, you got to do this. And he just started talking a whole lot. And I didn't really like that, because what it did was it gave all the people who were ignorant of the neighborhood or didn't take the time to do their due diligence an opportunity to get intrigued and to hop on their phones and Google real quick some of the addresses and try to get an idea of what it was. And he also hit us with a curveball. He said that if there's anyone who wants to bid on this entire property, this entire neighborhood, or all 15 of these buildings at once, speak now, and we can just open up the minimum bid at something in the 40,000s. Nevin in his rap says, well, they opened up the bid at 41. That's what he means. The bid for the entire 15 buildings opened up at about 40 something thousand dollars, which was, that's crazy. Like, that's unheard of. I've been to so many tax sales. I haven't seen that happen before, and I haven't seen it happen since. And it was just an anomaly of a situation. And interestingly enough, no one wanted to bid on the entire 15 buildings at once. Now, when he said that to me, I just told y'all I had an amount of money for our investment, Trep Out Da Bando, and then I had another amount of money for my wife and I. And that minimum bid that they opened up with, I did have that amount of money. I did. And it made my heart drop, because it was the biggest curveball that could have possibly been thrown at that time. And I am at bat, and I do have I got a good plan, and I see it coming. I could swing at it. But like Nevin said, if we would have decided to bid on all 15 of those buildings after he's already done this whole disclaimer that has piqued the interest of other people and all of these things, we would have opened up. If I would have raised my hand, I would have opened up that bid, and I wouldn't have had any leverage or bidding power after the minimum. So as soon as someone wants to test my pockets, I was going to fail. And when you go to these auctions, they do that. They will definitely, let's say you bid 45,000 on something. They'll just say 48. Okay, 50. Okay, 55. Okay, 60. 75. And they're just going to see where you flop at. Even if they don't know what the property is, they assume that there is value to it based on the fact that you're willing to bid on it. And so sometimes they'll just try to step on you. And I'm fairly sure that would have happened had we went for the entire neighborhood. And so in Nevin's rap, he says, I got good news and bad news. Pick one. He just told me that I actually said that. I forgot. It's been 2 years, 3 years now, so I don't even remember like that. But the bad news was that the best case scenario, or that wonderland, that fantasy of 15 properties potentially being sold for 40 grand came true, and we did not capitalize on it. So that was the bad news. But the good news was, because we allowed the buildings to go into individual bids, it gave us 15 opportunities to win a property within our budget. And that's what we did. We ended up with one of the properties. And like we said, we already told y'all the number. We got this thing for $4,000. That is no cap. And once you win the bid, you have to wait a year. That's called a redemption period. You have to wait a year before you can actually go into the property, inspect it, start other legal processes. Most people hire a lawyer to get those other legal processes done. And that leads into what Nelly said was, okay, we won. So what's next? What's next is we wait a year. So
Literally.
You do have to wait a year before you can go in the property, but you are allowed to go and board it up and secure it. So we actually, are we telling that story as well? How we did go to the property the same day? And what happened when we did that? I wasn't here. I was in Tampa. I mean,
okay.
I'm just...
Okay.
Them boys came.
So one of the questions that we got was, what are the challenges of owning this specific building? The main thing that jumps out at me of the challenges is just that it's kind of far back here in the neighborhood. So if we were in the front, we would be able to clear it out, and you don't have to go past a lot of abandoned foresty buildings to get to yours, right? So it makes it more desirable to an investor or even somebody who might want to live there. Like, I could stay in the front, we could gate off the back stuff, and we could have the front building, and you right here next to Chipotle and Walmart, and right now
kind of commercial area.
The highway is bus stops and all that kind of stuff, and those, that's valuable, especially when you're getting into rental property. So the fact that we are in the back is a challenge. I
would say that the challenges that I see, electrical or power to the area in general, is null and void right now. There is none, and that's for this entire area. There is no easy, quick way to get power here. We have to have the entire area inspected, all of the ground wires that this property feeds off of, and the transformer itself. We have to have that fully inspected. And the same with water. The fire hydrants around here don't even work. So the water authority does not come to this area. Georgia Power does not come to this area right now. And like he said, it's all the way in the back, which means that we have to clear a path all the way up to ours, not just, because there's a certain point where the street is still maintained by the county. Right as you get to the threshold of the neighborhood, up to that point, the county still maintains that street. So if you're in the front, you almost have some, county assistance, so to speak. But way back here, you may as well be off grid. And then, of course, y'all see how crazy it is in there. It's a lot of work to be done.
I would say one of the challenges that I think is just thinking about the future of the property and having to work with so many different other owners in this neighborhood, because we may have one vision. Let's say we have the vision of getting this property back up and livable and rentable. That would be ideal, very ideal. But we're all the way in the back, so what Nevin was talking about, we can't get this building to a livable position if we're in the back, and then the 15 units leading up to ours is still condemned, burnt down, overgrows, homeless people living in there,
raccoons.
It's impossible. So I think that is one of the challenges, is just the uncertainty of the neighborhood and having to work with some of the other owners, because we don't know what their vision is. Their vision could be to sell. Their vision could be to get theirs back livable, but do they have the resources to start the process. You know, we are a 3-man team right now, and we're coming and putting in long hours. You see the work that we do and all the precautions that we take. We don't know if the other owners are in that position to dedicate this much time, effort, energy, and their own resources to it. So I would say that's definitely one of the challenges for this building.
Well put. And I think that becomes one of the most paramount. Of course, we have these conversations amongst ourselves all the time. And outside of the 15 buildings that we keep referencing, you have to remember this neighborhood in total has 25. And some of those owners, we actually are in direct contact with. I'm pretty sure you all have seen some footage by now of at least one of them. I would say that we are in direct contact with about 3 others. And so we communicate occasionally just to stay friendly. But there are other owners whose properties have not gone up at any auctions or anything like that. So it's been the same ownership for X amount of years, and they are basically completely absent. And even though 15 is the majority, because these properties are so intertwined, those other 10 still play a big part. And we have been working on reaching out to these absentee owners, but to no avail have we gotten any responses. So, well put. Yeah, that probably is the most paramount one, because you can get the work done. The work is not intimidating. What's intimidating is the market. And that's why we are saying that we're getting it out the mud, and we're trying to use our entrepreneurial spirit in every way that we can to basically make something good come out of this investment.
Narelle talked to a few investors early on to see if we could, just get out from under it, sell it as is, right? As is sale. That's something that we were open to in the beginning. And honestly, it was like investors didn't know what they were getting into, and they expected us, like, we're in contact with 3 other owners. It might be 5 other owners that we don't know, And so when basically the investors came and said, well, do you think the other investors would sell? You think they would be interested in selling? And we're like, man, look, we
are talking about our
this
building.
Our building.
You contacted us for this property. We're not a realtor. We're not working for you. So
we're not going to do the research. We're not going to, and we can't promise that. This is not a bundle deal. We are an individual entity. Don't even, if you want to take on that endeavor of doing that research and finding them and reaching out to them, that'll be your business. But we make no promises. So yeah, we appreciate y'all rocking with us. Listening to some of our rants and gems about, shout out to Rants and Gems. Y'all stay tuned, because we got plenty more to come. Y'all keep the questions coming. We do enjoy having the opportunity to hear what y'all are thinking and what you all want to know about this process. We are an open book as much as we can be without divulging information that infringes on other people's privacy and our own privacy.
And if we don't respond back to you quickly, it's because
we probably here.
We at the bando.
In the trip.
Putting in work.
We getting it out the mud. I feel like that should be our...
That's our slogan. That's our logan.
That's our slogan and our logan.
Slogan. We have slogos and
our logan. You heard
it out the mud.
You heard
Get
her.
It out
That's
the
our
mud.
slogan and our logan.
That's our slogan. That's our logan.
Man,
slogan.
Slogan.
We have to have a shirt that says "Get it out the mud," and it has to be a slogan. No,
I be doing it.
We got a shirt. Hey, somebody make us a slogan. For "Get it out the mud." I need like a hand coming out the dirt with little mud dripping from it. The slogan and our logan. You really did both of them, though. You just switched them. You was like,
that's our slogan. That's our logan.
Slogan. That's a good
That's a good creative word, though. A slogan, because what it is it's a slogan and a logo put together. You know what I mean? Like, it's
in
a
my
slogan.
head, that's what I was thinking, like logo and slogan.
The slogan. The slogan just sound like a name.
Yeah, that's
And our Logan.
Man.
All right, there you have
that's
it.
our slogan. So,
That's our slogan. We get it out the mud.
yeah. We getting it out the mud.
We're approaching the top of the neighborhood. As you can see, the overgrowth is getting higher and higher the deeper we come into the neighborhood.